FYI, I'm going to be deleting any aphobic comments like agender doesn't exist. One thing I've learned after realizing that I'm agender and asexual is that no one seems to know what that means. Well, by no one I mean that those terms and identities aren't really in the popular conscious like trans and gay are. So we get asked a lot of questions. Some very uncomfortable, problematic questions. And some agender folk would rather not have to answer them, especially because they're usually asked in bad faith. There's a level of not wanting to explain yourself all the time, but also a part of us that just doesn't want to be grilled on our existence. That's why I'd like to run down some of these common asks so that you, dear viewer, won't use these queries on an agender person in the future. And to do this, I pulled the lovelies of our agender for the questions that they hate getting asked. So a huge thank you to them. This video wouldn't be possible without you. Are you male or female? This one I get personally online after I state that I'm agender and therefore not a boy or girl. The question seems to be from a point of understanding that gender and sex are separate, so I'm likely not devoid of a sexual label just because I don't have a gender. But most of the time it's a rephrasing of are you a boy or a girl? It's trying to use woke terminology to put an agender person into a gendered box, even if you don't recognize yourself as doing so. I get it. It's easy to categorize everyone by gender because growing up in a binary society, we were taught to separate boys and girls, especially when you want to determine how much you want to do the sex with that person. But again, asking it is forcing a gendered label on us. Same with asking what bathroom we use. Questions like these are similar to the now mostly dead trend of asking a trans person, but what's your real name? Which was code for, I want to think of you by how I define you, not by how you define yourself. It comes off as hand-waving our lack of genderness so that you can process our existence in a comfortable way by making us uncomfortable and devaluing our unique experience as someone unlike you. So please, stop asking this? Isn't that the same as being non-binary? This question doesn't bother me as much, especially because I was confused on this for a while. Non-binary is an umbrella term for identities not on the binary of woman and man. Agender, gender fluid, bigender, trigender, etc., all of them fall under this label. Agender is a specific term for those who basically lack a gender. The none of the aboves of gender identities. Just one of the many gender labels that can be called non-binary. Think of it this way. Agender is to non-binary as gay is to queer. One is a subcategory of the other, and they cannot be used interchangeably evenly. Like, if I wanted to tell you that my friend is a gay man specifically, I wouldn't say he's a queer man because there's a lot of things queer can mean as well, like bi or asexual. I'd have to say that my friend is gay to convey the full context of what I mean. So you can say an agender person is non-binary, but not that all non-binary people have the same gender identity. How can you not feel a gender? I don't know. How can you feel a gender? See? It's not that easy to respond to even if a binary gendered person is asked it. How can I not feel a gender? I just don't like how you just know what your gender identity is. No one had to tell you. It's something you found the answer to within yourself. When I look into myself, I feel no connection to being a boy or a girl or even a mix of them. I just feel like me, devoid of having a gender. No gendered label feels right to me except for none of the above. Like how you intrinsically feel and therefore know your gender, I intrinsically know and feel that I just don't have one. How is that possible? Second verse, same as the first. That and nature is very strange. I mean, by our also scientific idea that animals live to procreate, we still find asexuals and homosexuals in the wild. Every day we are learning that our basic male and female binary view of nature just doesn't hold water. People are and have been much stranger than we've thought for a very long time. Really, we're finally catching up to a rich history of very gender and sexual identities that have always been around, just not in the terms or framings of today. It's possible because nature makes it so. My friend the Fairy Mask said something that I think applies here well. The most interesting difference between history and fiction is that fiction has to make sense. Knowing the explanation is separate from the point of fact. But you have a insert genital here, right? Yes, I have all the genitals. Don't worry, I'm very f***able. Why can't you just be insert gender? Did you choose your gender? Can you just alter it on a whim? Well, I can't either. This is how it was created, and to my knowledge, humans don't have a gender switch that I can flip. Really, if I asked you this question, how could you answer with anything other than because it's not what you are? You know that's not real, right? It is, though? If that's the case, then why can't I find a list of non-binary and agender people through history on Wikipedia right now? Better yet, if that's the case, then how do you explain what I and many others experience? Because we have mental disorders? It needs to impair our ability to live normal, fulfilling lives to be a mental disorder, and the only thing impairing that are people asking these bad faith questions in an effort to disprove our existence. Look, you can't just say we don't exist when we live being agender every day. Why is it so hard to take people at their word when they tell you what they're experiencing? Frankly, it shows a lack of imagination and empathy for experiences that you don't have. Rejecting the premise like that is choosing to not participate in the conversation. If I say this is what my life is like, it isn't a reasonable response to just say, nuh-uh. When are you going to come out as trans? Well, many people would argue that we are trans since we do not identify with the gender we were assigned at birth. But more likely you're asking, why don't we admit that we're binary trans? Well, because we're not. Yes, many use identifying as non-binary to explore gender expression before realizing that they're binary transgender. It helped Kat Black and Natalie win, but that doesn't describe all of us. I know that I don't feel like a man, and making myself look more masculine repulses me. It gives me hypothetical dysphoria just imagining myself transitioning to being more masculine. I'm not going to come out as something I'm not. I'm agender. That's like asking a trans man when he'll just come out as a butch lesbian. That's not what he is, and unless I learn otherwise, binary trans isn't what I am. How can you be trans and look cis? Easily, actually. But in all seriousness, being trans doesn't mean that I need to get a new wardrobe, no matter how depressing it can look. Being trans means I'm something other than my birth-assigned gender. Just how looking like a man or a woman can be many things, so can being trans. Some people are fine with how they look, but just want to be recognized by their preferred name and pronouns. Looks are often tied into transition, but for someone like me, it's more about how people label and view me that matters. My clothes and chest and other genitals don't make me agender. It's my inner experience of not having a gender that makes me fit that label. I don't need to look genderless to be what I am, just like how women and men don't need to adhere to strict gendered appearances to be what they are. Women who are boxy in frame with short hair and who wear pants exclusively aren't any less women because of it. I'm not any less agender for being comfortable looking feminine. You can also apply this rebuttal to someone like me being told that we don't look androgynous enough to be agender. Again, who said we had to look that way? Agender is about not having a gender, not being very aesthetically attractive to someone like me. Many folks would like their appearance to be as gender ambiguous as possible, but it's not a required uniform or a thing that makes us lack a gender. Why don't you bind? Because I don't feel the need to? Personally, I'd like to try it one day, but like I stated before, I don't need to defeminize myself to be agender. I wear what feels good, and for me, that happens to be a bra. My chest doesn't cause me dysphoria, so why fix what ain't broke? Is it because you hate women? Wait, someone legitimately asked this? My gosh, how do I respond? No? Does a gay man hate women? Like, what do you think? Do you have dysphoria? This is another one I'm shocked someone actually would say. Would you ask this of a binary trans person? And more importantly, why does that matter? I know a portion of the world believes you need to have dysphoria to be trans, and to that I'd say, check out ContraPoints' video Trans Trenders. She does a good job of explaining that dysphoria isn't a requirement to be transgender. Yes, it often is a part of the trans experience, but for someone like me who is trans, the most dysphoria I feel is over my hair getting too long and my body weight. That again isn't what makes me trans. It's the fact that I don't identify as a woman, my birth gender. Some of you may say, how could I know I'm not a woman if I don't have dysphoria? I know because I explored what I felt inside and I found that I felt nothing. The notion of calling myself a woman or a man felt repulsive, wrong. Like, it would be a lie to do so. I'm not attached to either. I don't flow between them or feel like a combination of the two or like some undescribed gender. I feel like I have no gender. Dysphoria can hint to being trans, but it's not the entirety of the trans experience or what makes us trans. What makes me trans is the fact that I'm not a woman like my birth-assigned gender would suggest. I'm a whatever. This is the main thrust of responses I got on Reddit. I'll link you the thread in the description so that you can read them in full detail for yourself because I think it's worth it. Many of the ideas expressed in it are rephrased and restated here, but there are bits that I didn't cover or address, like the assumption that all agender people will seek hormones, or how it's tough to know how to explain your lack of gender to a class of children. And there's the raw emotion and the reaction to these often aphobic questions that I might not have fully conveyed here. Mine should not be the only agender voice you'll listen to on this matter. I know that many don't feel the same way as me, and certain queries bother some agender folk more than others. I think the thread is a good start to understanding this, especially because it's a public discussion of conversations that often happen in private. And of course, I encourage you to seek to understand what you don't know. I had to learn myself what being non-binary was and that it was even a thing not too long ago. Just remember to be open to just listening, pay attention to the experiences that you personally haven't gone through, and understand when someone doesn't want to explain the intricacies of being an agender person. Since I have a small public platform, I feel the need to answer these uncomfortable questions. But not everyone is in a place where being a teacher to everyone who approaches them is viable. So just don't be hurt if someone points you to other resources over taking on the weight of explaining what it means to be them. So my camera died partway through recording. Thankfully I got through the scripted portion, but if the camera looks weird, that's why. I had to take my phone out of the camera stand, sort out what was going on, and then put it back. Yay. I also realized partway through recording that I'm still wearing one of my headbands around my neck. At one point I had 2 headbands around my neck, one obviously under my wig now, and I just forgot that this one existed. I'm a mess. Send help. But in all seriousness, this is my new wig. I kinda like it. I don't really care for the shape that it gives my head, but I think the color is cute and it looks good with a hat. And now it's time for that new section of my videos where I talk about the fan art that I've got. This one in particular is from Lemonwig. You can find him on YouTube doing YouTube things. I think this image is really cute. He posts some really adorable art in the art Discord, which is where he gave me this. It's just so adorable. I love the art style. I love the texture on my hair and on my glasses. The blush is really adorable too. I just like it. So thank you very much, Lemonwig. You can find him on YouTube doing YouTube stuff, I guess. And if you want to make sure that I see fan art that you might have of me or other of my friends, you can always post them in the fan art channel on my Discord. After doing that, you can check out the content stream of the things that I and my friends create, because YouTube won't help you keep up with my stuff. And as always, you can talk to me in my NotAVampyre crypt. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at NotAVampyre. Thank you very much for consuming this video, and until next time.